Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit or Zappy here, back again with the start of a brand new show that we're going to be reacting to. It will be taking the place of Demon Slayer on Wednesdays, and as you can tell by the title of the video, that it is going to be Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. So this was requested by a god tier over on my Patreon. So if you don't know, you can go over to my Patreon, you can become a god tier and then request a show that you want me to react to and I will react to it. There's also other tiers there, like full length and early access and everything like that. Speaking of which, since this is episode 1, everyone will be getting access to this immediately. There is no early access for episode 1. However, if you do want to gain access to episode 2 right now and not have to wait a week, then you can do by becoming an early access tier patron, and episode 2 will be up right now. So you can go watch this and then go watch episode 2 right now, or you can just wait a week and then episode 2 will be out next week. Then from then on, every Wednesday after that, it'll be 2 episodes a week. Okay, so 2 weeks from now, episode 3 and 4 will be released for everyone, to the public. Alright, so anyway, Ghost in the Shell. So it's a big deal, this this franchise, and I you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never seen a Ghost in the Shell movie or show or read anything regarding Ghost in the Shell. But you know, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like it's a universal, like it's basically a universe thing where I think it's set in universe, and then you have like different sort of like shows and whatnot taking place within the same universe, but like consisting of different characters and stuff. You know, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, but like that's just like what I can kind of recall from my memory of like seeing certain things and whatnot. And also the other thing that I know about it is the fact that I think the sort of the main characters or whatever are artificial. I don't think they're real people. So there's that. I mean, I'm sure I'll get like all into it, you know, when I actually start reacting to the show. But that's basically my knowledge of the whole thing. It's cyberpunk sort of style, so set in a sort of like that kind of, you know, future metropolis, but it's like down and gritty and you know. So I feel like it's going to be like sort of similar to Psycho Pass in that regard, and I've reacted to that. Well, at least season 1 and a bunch of season 2, but that's where I stopped. Anyway. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. I think we're just going to get in episode 1 and see what we get. So I'm not too sure on the likelihood of putting this up, like putting the actual reaction on YouTube. So it may have to go off-site to my website if you actually want to watch the reaction footage. So, you know, if that is the case, the reaction link will be down in the description below. There'll also be a link to the full length. If you do want to watch it in full, then the option is there for you. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. So we're going to get into episode 1 of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 1. Right, so I went back through and just sort of like reread like some of the subtitles and stuff like that. You know, you're gonna have to kind of like bear with me and stuff, because you know, when things are like flying by, there's so much information going on, especially when, you know, I have no idea what like a lot of terms like mean and stuff. So I went back through it and I wrote down you know, some stuff that I may have missed, and so I can correct myself to stuff that I may have got wrong in the reaction and everything like that as well. But anyway, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely interested. There's definitely a big political sort of thing behind this whole thing, and because, like, you know, considering the fact that this whole thing with like Section 9, which is a sort of an offshoot of the sort of, I don't know if it's really all that connected to the police system, you know, because they could be there. I don't know. I don't know if they are their own like private like company, or what. Because I mean, well, first of all, Aramaki, who seems to be the head of Section 9 anyway, when he walked into the room, all the police officers would like stop their sort of bickering, because they didn't want, obviously, the military getting involved or whatever. They immediately stood up and, like, you know, and like saluted at him. So they give him proper respect. So with that said, I would assume that they are a sort of branch of the police force in some way, but they obviously have higher like jurisdiction. You know, and it seems across the board Aramaki is very respected. But the thing is that's sort of interesting, I suppose, is the idea that like Section 9, I don't think they necessarily do things with the law in mind, that they can go under and like do things behind their back almost, because there was that whole thing, and I guess that is just specifically regarding this case. I don't know what's going to be cases going forward, if it's more into the political figures and everything like that. But Aramaki and whatnot, he was talking about, you know, like the differences between like the bureaucrats and the politicians, and how they have different agendas and everything, and that, you know, he to get to the bottom of what he, I guess, you know, had to, you know, he couldn't just go around giving out this whole information that they knew about how, you know, that there's somebody sort of on the inside that wants all of this information regarding the Ichinose report, which is to do with sort of foreign sort of like, well, military and what was the other one? Shit, because I didn't fucking write it down. Anyway, whatever. It's basically strategic situations and stuff regarding like a state of emergency, which makes me think that what they were doing, which I think, I'm kind of all over the place, but there's a lot to sort of dig in. So the state of emergency thing, I think the reason why, I'll call them the group now, because I think it's NIPA really that wanted this information, that they wanted that so they could basically send wherever this place is. I mean, I'm going to say that this is Japan where we're set, just because, I mean, it would make the most sense, I suppose, but I figure like it almost seems like NIPA wanted that so that they could send Japan into a state of emergency and know all of the different you know, strategic sort of situations that, you know, would be put in an event like this, and therefore they can sort of maneuver around it, you know. But I mean, in regards to NIPA anyway, I'm going to assume that that's the way it's, and it's not just NI or NAIPA. I'll just say NIPA. But yeah, so I mean, so I guess that means that they are North American, right? And that's what the N and A stand for. The reason why I say that is because Motoko Kusanagi, she's the main chick, she was saying that one of the officials, the brain that was obviously all messed up and whatever, was when put back together didn't fit the original model that it was supposed to be, which was an American based brain, I suppose, and put all together as a jigsaw didn't fit. So the whole thing that I assume is what happened is that the Minister of Foreign Affairs went in, the NIPA agent or official or whatever followed him in, the guy with the briefcase, and had switched out right with the minister, and end up having his brain, but also having the external obviously look of being the minister, so that he could you know actually have those records and whatnot and be fine. And then I mean that's the reason why, with all of that sort of put together, it does seem that was what they were implying there, was that it was a NIPA official that had gotten control of the minister, or basically the minister's body or whatever, and the Ichinose reports, and that was heading to a party that was sponsored specifically by NIPA. So I feel like, yeah, there's like there could be this whole thing, overarching story in the show in regards to NIPA, and like how I don't know, there could be a fucking war of cybernetics going on for all we know, but you know, yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, that was the thing, like there was a specific moment like in the subtitles that I kind of got confused with when I was reacting to it, and then even when I went through it again after reacting to it just to see what was actually being said there. It did confuse me a bit, but I think he was talking about the other guy. So there's a moment where Kusanagi is in Aramaki's office, and Aramaki says that, look into the whole thing with the Ichinose, or he's going to look into the Ichinose reports or anything like that. And Kusanagi says, I thought he was your friend or whatever. And when I reacted to it, my initial thought was, wait a minute, what is he talking about? The Minister of Foreign Affairs, or not? Because I thought that, it was weird later on in the airport when the minister didn't regard Aramaki as a friend or anything like that. But I think it's possible that Aramaki was actually talking about the guy who just left the room. They did say his name. I didn't fucking write it down. It was Kabuko or something like that. I think the guy in charge of military. I think that's the guy, right? He must have been talking about him. But yeah, just a fucking a lot of information. Whew. Anyway, so yeah, I mean section 9 are really fucking cool. They've got access to things that I don't know if other sort of associations do. I mean, the criminals seem to be unaware of what Section 9 is, because they were just like, "Oh, are you cops?" The guy on the roof at the beginning, basically asking like, "Are you cops?" and how this isn't justice anymore and stuff. So that's the thing, is another way of looking at it is that it is coming from a criminal, so you've got to take what he says with a pinch of salt. But when he's saying "Are you guys cops?" Oh yeah, there's no justice anymore. You need to take me in. You can't just fucking unload on me. That Section 9 seem to do their own style of approach as opposed to the way that the law does it. But I'm sure we'll get more into that as the episodes go on. But yeah, they have access to this stealth mode. The tracer virus thing was cool, sending it back through where it originated from and hitting the guy with a tracer essentially. So that was really cool. And yeah, there's a lot going on with the whole cyborg thing, which I guess is all what it is. I don't think, because I was at the start of this show, I was kind of I thought that they were sort of artificial. I thought that they may be androids, but it seems like that's not the case. I guess it doesn't mean that there isn't any in here, but it seems like the focus is more on cyborgs. So they are humans, just sort of engineeringly enhanced, cybernetically. That's the term. But there are some that are more than others. So I think Bato is more cyborg. There was a little thing at the beginning, just after basically as soon as Bato turned up in the helicopter, there was this green sort of thing with some text at the side, but it was hard to make out. I had to pause it and just write stuff down in regards to it. But it was talking about Bato was basically it was clear that Bato was a guy that was pretty much pure cyborg, he was just kitted out at cybernetics to a point where it was just he practically may as well be a robot. But yeah, I mean that doesn't surprise me, because he's the one that seems to be more of an engineer kind of, he focuses a lot around machinery and stuff. It seems as though he has these robots that he commands and stuff. And I think he was flying the helicopter as well with just by being connected to it. He didn't even have to be behind the fucking, behind the controls or anything. So yeah, that was cool. But yeah, and then there's some that are just straight up human. There's the guy who's called Togasa, who we got a bit of interesting sort of a tiny bit of conversation between him and Kusanagi. And Kusanagi seems to, well, I don't know, because we haven't really got a real grasp on her personality yet, really. She seems a bit playful, I suppose. at times, but you know, she seems to kind of get on well with Togusa, and I wonder if she was the one that actually brought him in. I don't know, but you know, anyway, Togusa seems to be. I don't know if he's like not a fan of cybernetics, like, you know, at all, because like she was saying, you know, I wouldn't be stupid enough to ask you to mix official and personal stuff, right? So I don't know if it's like personally he doesn't like the idea of cybernetics, but officially it would help him. You know, if he was doing it under the, you know, as like, you know, business related shit under Section 9, it would probably help. But interestingly, he was like sent off on his own little mission where he was like, you know, he went off and like did like some detective work, and I wonder if that's kind of just what he's gonna like, that's gonna be his main job is like detective work, as opposed to being head on sort of like infantry in a way that like Kusanagi seems to be. You know, because I don't think he has access to like the stealth mode and everything like that, because I imagine that's tied to the cybernetics, isn't it? So that you can just turn on and off. So I don't think he has like access to all of that. So sending him in would be quite risky. You know, but there was also some stuff with Togusa about how, you know, like if there's ever a moment or whatever where there's a hostage in front or whatever, just shoot through. I don't really know what Kusanagi was getting at there, like, because it seemed as though she was like, if there was ever a time when that was to occur, to like shoot through the hostage to get to the target, you know. But you know, I don't know. This is all things that you know, you can help me out with in the comments if I don't get anything right. Just put like the timestamp or whatever of when I talk about it, and then, you know, just let me know. But yeah. There was also the statement at the very start as well, like, so obviously the opening started off, but then immediately after the opening there was like some sort of flavor text that was like in blue that obviously I couldn't read in fucking real time, it was too quick, but yeah, obviously I went back and looked at that, and it was like it was about becoming something more. It talked about how like those that haven't been essentially cybernetically enhanced or whatever are like missing out on becoming like, you know, essentially like something more, part of like a larger complex. But it in that sort of vein, it's like, well, you're becoming part of the system as well. This was something where I would have talked about it in Psycho Pass at some point, but because in that regard it's very similar. You're like you're basically hooked up to the system all the time, so there's like sort of moral conundrums that crop up when it comes with like when that kind of shit is brought up, you know. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to answer all this stuff. Like, we're going to get some like story based around like, well, you know, if maybe that's what Togusa is worried about. Maybe it's not the fact that he can be enhanced by cybernetics, but he doesn't want to be, you know, he doesn't want like to be a part of this fucking system where he can't be him, like truly himself, you know. But I don't know, we'll see. We had the cyborg guy, who the criminal anyway that was running away, that I refer to it as offlined himself, because I thought it was like the equivalent of like a cyanide pill, that he just, you know, he got caught, so he just offed himself. But that wasn't the case. He just essentially erased his memories of it, and the guy was sitting there as well, like with a fucking smirk on his face, like, so he recalls the fact that he erased his memories, but he doesn't know what he erased, so he can just sit there with a fucking smirk on his face and be fine with it. But yeah, so there's clearly a fucking criminal sort of group, I'd say, that is all involved within this first case. You know, the guy who was on the roof with the sleeping gas thing at the very start, and that guy that was in control of the geishas from far away and whatnot. I think they're all part of the same group. I mean, they were clothed the same as well. Like, from what I can recall, it looked like they had the same clothes, very similar clothes. You know, but the fact is that they're erasing their memories means that they're not doing it of their own accord. They're doing it for somebody else. you know, it's like they would have been briefed, I'd imagine, like by the higher ups in that criminal sort of organization, where it would just be like, you know, if you're ever caught, you erase this fucking part of your memory so that they can't track it back to us, kind of thing, you know. But yeah, so geisha robots. They refer to them strictly as geisha robots, not robots dressed up like geishas. So it's like, I guess they said it was a restaurant as well, right? So I guess, yeah, they just have robots around sort of serving. So those robots then, I mean, those are technically androids then, right? Or do they communicate? Or do they not? Like, they didn't communicate, did they? But someone can just upload themselves to that body if they wish. And I assume that the robot is kitted out with everything that allows the person connected up to it to do whatever they want to do and whatnot. It's weird that the guy was like, when he gets drunk, he likes to, like, I guess to fiddle with himself. You know, because now he's like in a woman's body, you know. And with a guy being drunk, of course. But yeah, that was insane. But yeah, I like the sort of the nature of what we're going here. So I'm excited to see where we go in this. I mean, with the whole, you know, when I was talking about at the beginning of this discussion about Section 9 and how I don't know if they're really like, if they're purely on the law's side, or they have distrust of the people in charge of the, you know, the whole shebang, that they go about their own ways, and sometimes they go against the law, but like do it like sort of underhandedly so they don't notice shit. I mean the other thing was like in Aramaki's office, the guy who was charged of military or whatever, he says just don't do anything to hurt your career, which is why I think that they're like, even that guy knows that Section 9 are doing things away from the law, you know. So I'm excited to get like more into that side of it, and just to see what goes on. You know, politics can get like tiring and whatnot, you know what I mean? But like in a fucking fictional universe like this, it's interesting to get into the depths of it, especially like in the world building and seeing how it actually works, and how it all stems together. So yeah, I'm excited. I don't think there's anything else to talk about. No, I don't think there's anything else to talk about. I mean, Kusanagi's a major, you know, so I don't know. Considering, I don't know how many people are in Section 9, put it that way. I mean, we've got the Saito, the sniper guy. I like him, he looks cool as fuck. You know what I mean? But they got like a group of, almost like a squad. But behind the sniper dude, there was like a bunch of other snipers, you know? So I don't know how big Section 9 really is. And I don't know where Kusanagi, sort of like how far she is, like it could, because as of right now, from the characters we know, it's like she's second in command in Section 9, you know, and she was sort of like leading everybody, you know, so she is at least the head of all of those guys, all the squad. But yeah, I'm just excited to get more into it anyway. So yeah, if I forgot to talk about anything, I apologize. You know, I'll reiterate, there's like, it's a lot of information to take on, so you're gonna have to bear with me. But you know, as the episodes go on, you know what I mean, things will just start becoming more natural to me, and I'll understand what the terms mean that they're talking about and everything, and how the whole world works. So yeah, very excited to get into this. Like I said at the beginning, that you can go watch episode 2 right now if you become an early access tier patron, but you know, if you can't, then just wait a week. It'll be out next Wednesday, and then from then on, every Wednesday it'll be 2 more episodes, okay? But you can get ahead with early access and get, you know, the next episodes a week early. So, you know, go and enjoy that if you want. You can also watch these in full length with the full length tier over on my Patreon as well. And then there are other tiers where you can pay to have the like a show reacted to. So, you know, that's why we're watching this show. It was requested by a God tier patron, and you can do the same. So go have a look and see what all of those have to offer. There's also a link to the Discord down below as well. If you do want to go over there, then, you know, feel free. But yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.